Hello everyone, Roy Kerckhoffs here. So today I'm going to color again this black and white photo that's printed on Plexiglass using just black and gray inks. This was done with a flatbed UV printer, and this piece is about 33 by 20 inches. So a little while ago I colored a small one, just to check out how this works. It was more like a little experiment. And so here is the, I guess you can call it slightly more serious piece. So again, I'm going to color. So it was printed on the back in mirror form. So when you look from the front, it looks the right size. Although I must say it doesn't really matter for this type of image whether that pelican is on the left or the right. Anyway, it was printed on the back, and I'm also going to color it on the back here. So I'm going to use Golden Gloss Glazing Liquid and mix that in with golden acrylics colors. So I'm going to start off with Alizarin Crimson. And I like always, when I color these pieces, either it's canvas or in this case like plexiglass, or even on photo paper, I like to use these flat brushes. So this is actually a little hard to estimate how much you need of each, or I mean of the glazing liquid and the paint. Of course, the more paint you use, the more opaque it gets, and it's a little bit of a trial and error. And I guess that's also one of the main reasons I did that smaller piece last time. So this piece is going to be backlit. You can either hang it in front of a window or have like a LED backlighting behind it. But like I said, it's a little bit of a trial and error, and it turns out this piece actually turned out pretty well in the end, as you can see later. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that reddish paint to the clouds here. So this is a composite image of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 images. So the clouds were taken from my backyard here in Carlsbad. And it's hard to see, but there's a little sun. The sun is peeking out underneath the clouds above the horizon. Later on, I will paint around the sun so you can see where it is. Anyway, so that was taken from our backyard. The pelican I shot from the pier in San Clemente, California. It just flew up from the ocean, and it had a nice like bluish tint underneath reflecting from the water, and I will also add that color back in later to the pelican. Then the third image is the ocean from just above the breaking wave all the way to the horizon, and on the right there you can see there's a bunch of surfers hanging out in the water, and that was taken at Beacons Beach in Leucadia, California. And then the fourth and last image, it's at the bottom, it's the breaking wave. That one I shot long time ago in Hermosa Beach, California. The waves were pretty big that day. There were no surfers out, and I got several shots of these waves breaking there. And then in this image here, I liked, my goal was to combine like a typical ocean scene as a composite image. So this is what I ended up with. So now it's time to add a little bit of cadmium orange, and I'm not going to make another separate glaze, but I will just mix that in what I have already, which also will make it a little bit more opaque, which is fine. So I would like to have like a variety of warm colors in the sky here. I believe in the original color image of the clouds, it was not as colorful as I'm doing here. I believe there was a little bit more darker purples, a little bit higher on the clouds. And of course I would like to have like a straight horizon. That's why I put on that masking tape earlier. It's a little bit hard to envision what this is going to look like. So you can see, if you would compare this, what you see here later on with at the end of the video with the final image, you can see that when it's backlit or like held in front of a window, it looks a lot lighter than what you see here. So this looks a lot darker. Ideally, you would like to have some kind of like already LED backlit setup here, so you can immediately see what it looks like. I don't have that, so I just have to work with like a white background. This is actually a matte board, a backboard foam core that I put behind it. So this is cadmium yellow, and now the masking tape allows me to do a nice straight horizon. So the tape itself is actually on the ocean. And now I would like to go around the sun and add a little bit of more that cadmium orange into the cadmium yellow. So we get a yellowish orange paint. And it turned out the little container for the glass glazing liquid was the right size. Before I started painting in this, I looked at several like bottles and whatnot I have, and it actually turned out this one fit perfectly. And there you go, the sun peeking out underneath the clouds. Of course, now I messed up that earlier paint a little bit, so I was trying to fix that with a paper towel. That totally messed it up. So I had to paint over it again, which is not that big of a deal. Again, new color. This is phthalo blue. Making a new glaze and add some of that blue sky that's left here. It's a little bit hard to see where the clouds are in this video, but there was actually a blue sky at this location here. Phthalo blue is a strong color. You only need a little bit of it. And making the glaze. So also I'm going a little bit over the previous layer, which makes it a little bit more purple. But I also wanted to put in a few more highlights on the bottom of the clouds, so with a little cotton round I can remove some of that paint. The nice thing about also working with paint on plexiglass, it's not a porous material obviously, so the paint doesn't suck into a canvas like it would be with canvas, so you can still easily remove it. And also the glazing liquid extends the drying time of acrylics. So now I took a little bit of the paint I had already with phthalo blue, mixed it in with some pure yet uncolored gloss glazing liquid, so that gives me a little bit of a lighter blue, and I'm adding that to the like the body and the wing of the pelican. So you don't have to worry too much about detail. You can see I'm making pretty coarse strokes, brush strokes on the pelican, and I can do that because the darkest parts, the dark ink, the blacks, those prevent from the color looking through on the other side. So you will still see a lot of detail when you look at it from the right side. And I'm adding a little bit of that cadmium orange on the beak. And again, you can see I'm also going over the black parts, but again, those will still show because they're underneath the paint when you look at it from the other side. So it's time to take the masking tape off. That's always a very exciting moment because it looks so clean. And now we just have to wait. So after a couple of hours, it is dry. And now I can also mask off what I did earlier in the sky. So now I can also put in a nice straight line of color on the ocean. I had put this piece also in the sun, so that made it dry a little faster. Otherwise, because of the glazing liquid, which extends the drying time, you probably, if you don't put it in the sun, you probably need to wait for like a whole night or something. I didn't have that patience at this moment. Okay, so I'm making a mix of a little bit of an aquamarine. So I mixed phthalo blue with cadmium yellow, which gives me this color. I also went a little bit more opaque, so I use a little bit more paint than of the glazing liquid as I used earlier. And again, don't worry about details, all those nice darker areas, the waves, the structure that you can see in the ocean, the surfers, it will all be there. So in that first video where I did my first little plexiglass piece, I said I was preparing for something much bigger. This is not it yet. I'm actually working on something really big, which I cannot say too much about yet, but hopefully I can later, at a later time. Now, if it turns out this is too light and you need it more opaque, you can always add more color later. So when this is dry, you can add another layer of color, which will make it more opaque, if that's what you need. I'm just smoothing it out a little bit here, getting rid of some of the brush strokes. But it's hard to add a second layer when this is still wet, because you'll just remove the layer that was there. So that's why you have to wait till it's dry if you want to make it more opaque. And then this is Ultramarine Blue. And I'm trying not to touch too much of the white water of the breaking wave. I like to have a little bit of variety in the colors. I mean, we have different blues here. We have like a sailor blue, we have like an aquamarine in the ocean, and then in the front we have this ultramarine. So we're almost done. So this more grayish area, the darker part of underneath the wave here, that would also desaturate the color a little bit. So when you look at from the other side, that will look not only a little bit darker, but also a little bit more desaturated blue. And then I was looking at this and I thought, I'm not quite done yet, so I decided also to add some color like on top of the wave, like I'm doing here. And that really finished the piece. And then with my brush strokes, I'm following the structure of the wave. And then we'll take off the tape and wait another couple of hours and it's done. So what you see here is a detail of the pelican with some LED backlighting behind it. And then here I'm holding the finished piece in front of a window with the real ocean behind it. So if you would like to subscribe to my channel, please hit this button here and click on the other images here to see some other videos. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time.